Sagittarius is all about expanding horizons, embracing freedom, and exploration. So what we're going to be talking about is the differences between a Sagittarius Sun, Sagittarius Moon, Sagittarius Rising or Ascendant, and a Sagittarius Stellium. And as I was doing this preparation, I had an email from Scientific American come up, and their next edition, the December 2024, is the cover story is all about man and horse. I mean, how could the synchronicity there? It's basically the connection of domesticity, of how we've domesticated horses and the timeline on that. And they're discovering that horses were domesticated a lot sooner than we think. They thought it was about 6,000 years ago, but maybe around 2,000 years BC. Horses became so important. They went from a food source to this necessity for travel and exploration. And it changed the entire planet, basically, up until maybe the last 150 years. So what's the point of that? Well, the centaur, basically Chiron, was half man, half horse, and he was so wise that he was actually, and he was partially, and he was immortal, right? He was a god as well. So Chiron transcended all three levels, the animal, the human, which, is this kind of conglomerate, and the spiritual. And the pain that Chiron had was so extreme that it made him way more knowledgeable about pain and understanding how to heal pain. So that's all incorporated into this concept of what Sagittarius even is. Now, what's the point of learning about Sagittarius? You're like, I'm not a Sagittarius. Why should I care? Well, Sagittarius is in your chart, whether you know that or not. It's one of the 12 signs. It's in everybody's birth chart, and it does get activated even if we don't have planets in Sagittarius. It gets activated by transits, it gets activated by annual perfections, it gets activated by progressions. There's so many ways that it can get activated. So just learning about the different signs and what they even entail is really wise. Now, a Sagittarius Sun is the explorer of the zodiac. It's the philosopher. And it's a sign that thrives on knowledge, needs to know, needs to get answers, needs to explore the new frontiers, needs to have that fire lit inside. And it's optimistic, curious, has an insatiable thirst for adventure. Now, that's a foundational level when it's the sun. It's a desire to go into the unknown and looking for different ways to understand the world. Of course, there's always a challenge with every zodiac sign, and a Sagittarius sun has that challenge of being restless, not necessarily being feeling able to settle down, seeking new experiences to the extreme at times, struggling with being grounded or staying grounded. Now, it really depends on where Jupiter is. Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius, so you're going to get 12 different kinds of Sagittarius suns or risings or moons, depending on where the ruler is. That's what makes astrology interesting. And it depends on which house it's in as well. But generally, Sagittarius Sun is a very honest sign, has a hard time holding the tongue, like just is kind of blunt at times, embraces the freedom of speech, wants to just say what's on their mind. And the stability comes from the experiences, going out into the world and experiencing things to understand. When you understand what you're not, it helps you define what you are. And understanding what you're not can be very easily seen when you experience things that are unfamiliar and unknown. One example of a Sagittarius sun that I thought was interesting was Mark Twain, born November 30th, 1835. If you've ever read any of Mark Twain's writing, I mean, he's just so excellent. Huckleberry Finn, Tom Sawyer, and that embodies the Sagittarian spirit, that youthfulness, that questioning, but also a wisdom in that youthfulness, questioning societal norms and celebrating freedom and expression and exploring, just getting on one of those little floaty rafts and going down the Mississippi. So Twain had a lot of wit and humor, and oftentimes that's typical of Sagittarians. They're funny, usually really funny people. His social commentary was about as high as you can get with the quintessential Sagittarian wittiness. I went to Virginia City and Lake Tahoe a long time ago with my family, and the book that I bought when I was there was Roughing It, and it's all about his journey to the West. And oh boy, some stuff in there that'll raise your eyebrows about the way things were in the those days. And it's just brilliant. He's a brilliant writer. And he was always exploring and sharing his wisdom that he accumulated from his explorations. Did I say explorations too much? Probably. Next up is the Sagittarius rising. It just means that that was the zodiac sign that was rising on the horizon when you were born. That's a first house thing. Any rising sign shapes how an individual presents themselves to the world. It's their user interface, basically. One thing I recently heard was interesting was from Deborah Silverman, and she believes that the rising sign is actually your soul sign, like your promise that you've come here to express that zodiac sign. I thought that was an interesting way. Whereas the foundation is our solar sign, that's like what's fueling the whole system of your human existence. The soul expression is what is coming through. And that's what people see. It's how you interact, it's how you express. I've heard it also oftentimes called the skin, which I like. It's kind of like the wrapping of all these things that are inside of us, the ascendant. What I don't like is when they call it the mask, because that indicates that it's perhaps fake. And it really isn't. It's more of a one thing that was funny, somebody made a comment in my last video that was like this about Scorpio, and it said that Scorpio rising is like the cover band for Scorpio Sun. I thought that was so funny. And it is kind of true. A lot of times the rising sign acts out so much more like that zodiac sign than the actual sun sign does. So for Sagittarius rising, larger than life vibe. They are fun, storytellers, exciting. They draw people in. They're the person you want to hang out with at the bar, most likely. Very magnetic, approachable. One thing that they may get off of the vibe of that they're always chasing the next big thing. They want that adventure. Sagittarius rising people, they approach new experiences with an open mind, an open heart, a hunger to find meaning and enthusiasm. They always want to keep moving, want to keep going, want to keep doing something. Don't want to just sit still most of the time. Like I said, it depends on where all the other things are in your chart, but this is just straight up. So these individuals see life as an adventure. It needs to have adventure in it. A Sagittarius rising that I wanted to share is Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee, man, that dude. So interesting. I did another video where I talked a lot about Bruce Lee, so I watched a lot of his videos and
it is like a finger pointing away to the moon. Don't concentrate on the finger or you will miss all that heavenly glory.
Inspiring. Gosh, just watching him move is inspiring. But he had Sagittarius rising and Sagittarius sun, and he could synthesize martial arts, philosophy.
Empty your mind, be formless, shapeless, like water, like water, like water, like
bridging two cultures, the Chinese culture and American culture. He was born in San Francisco, but he also lived over in China. And anyway, he had this je ne sais quoi. I don't know. That's it. That's a Sagittarius energy that he has, a reflection of knowledge and breaking the boundaries. Little bonus. This one made me laugh just because I don't know why, but I've been talking a lot about Nicolas Cage lately, but he also is Sagittarius rising. And his eccentric personality, his adventurous career choices, they come out action-packed. Anyway, just thought I'd throw that in for fun. The moon is going to give the emotional landscape of the subconsciousness of Sagittarius, deeply emotionally connected to the thought and feeling of freedom and personal growth and philosophy and meaning. What is the meaning? Does not like to be tied down. This is like a horse that's tied up. Oof, no, thank you. Wants to be free, wants to explore, and when that's not happening, emotionally distraught. Sagittarius moon has a heart that just yearns for adventure and emotional expression through getting out into the world, seeing things and learning things. And those highs and lows are related to the quest. I love that. Sagittarius and quest, those two go together really well. The search for meaning and truth And they can be very philosophical about how they feel. While Sagittarius moon can have a very deep expression emotionally, and that can be a source of strength, it can also bring some challenges because there's a feeling of deep pain when they're restricted or tied down or stopped from seeking their freedom and their explorations. And sometimes Sagittarius moon can come off as emotionally detached in a way because they like to see the big picture. Two Sagittarius moons for you, for example, Ludwig van Beethoven. Beethoven had a Sagittarius moon, and that has that emotional fire and the depth of his music. And it's compositions that take you somewhere. They take you somewhere. The Ninth Symphony is one of those, and it's this grand theme of freedom and unity. And Sagittarius pursuing that and higher ideals and that emotional connection get you there. There's this artist named John Batiste, and just a few days ago, he came out with this album. It's a reimagining of Beethoven. It's so cool. Just to listen to Für Elise, because everybody knows that song. And the way he jazzes it up. It's super cool. I'll put a link to that in the description below so you can watch it if you're interested. Another Sagittarius moon was Friedrich Nietzsche. My favorite mustache of all time. Nietzsche had a Sagittarius moon, and talk about philosophical and his emotions wrapped up, like tied up in knots with his philosophy and his explorations of morality and truth and religion, right? He's the original God is dead guy. And his work, especially Thus Spoke Zarathustra, I don't know how to say that right, Zarathustra, I think, and Beyond Good and Evil, Human All Too Human, those are all Sagittarian themes, is questing to understand the deeper meaning of what even is a human, what is God, what is the animal. Anyway, that's Friedrich Nietzsche. Sagittarius stellium, most importantly, is having about 3 planets in Sagittarius to consider it be a stellium. The concentration of planets in Sagittarius in a chart adds to the curiosity, the optimism, the desire for freedom, and it's an embodiment of it. Whatever planet it is going to come with that filter, and then all of them linking together. It amplifies the intellectual pursuit, the artistic expression. The visionaries usually are people with a lot of planets in Sagittarius. With this intensity of planets in Sagittarius, one of the downsides could be difficult to satiate, and sometimes commitment aversion, aversion to locking in on one thing, one place, one person, one experience, because it's not enough. It's not enough to satisfy the horizon, the quest. Of course, it all depends on the other planets in the chart and the location, the house, and all that stuff, and especially where Jupiter is. But that need for independence is strong, and the need for exploration is strong. And they thrive in those environments where they can grow and learn and pursue and expand the dream. And that can happen with commitment as well. It doesn't mean it's not going to. It just means that if you're involved with somebody with a lot of Sagittarius, you need to let them have their space to explore and be free or be part of it, you know? And that could just come down to compatibility, astrological compatibility. A person with a Sagittarius stellium that I found is author Rudyard Kipling. He's most famous for writing The Jungle Book. He was born in India, and his planets in Sagittarius are Mercury, Mars, and Venus. So those planets deeply influenced his work, his writing. Venus in Sagittarius and Mercury in Sagittarius. So communicating his art and his ideas through complex cultural philosophical themes. That's The Jungle Book. It's really intellectual, actually. And he had an insatiable curiosity, a very creative person. Some of the stereotypes about Sagittarius include being depicted as wild or the carefree traveler that can't stay put, got to get on the road again. People with Sagittarius placements could also be stereotyped as being overly blunt, insensitive, commitment phobic. Those are some of those things. Always seeking the next adventure, never satisfied, not going to be able to settle down and just be in the present moment. But these things are, they're stereotypes for a reason because that's potential in this in the zodiac sign, but it doesn't mean that every single Sagittarius is that way. They also need to account for how wise Sagittarius energy is, the depth of wisdom, the expression of optimism, the fun that they bring. I hope I did Sagittarius a little bit of justice today talking about it. I enjoy it so much and just one of my favorite energies to explore. It's that's what it's made for. So, uh, that makes sense. I like you just the way you are. Thank you so much for being here with me, and I'll talk to you next time.